going to kick off our first video. It's going to be a recap of the U.S. Virgin Islands, which consists of St. Thomas, St. John, and St. Croix. We got to visit all three last year, and so I want to take you guys along with me. Have you been to those? Let me know what you think. Let's go. Right. So the wayfinding journey really started, almost 3 years ago, 26th birthday, really wanted to get away. And a good girlfriend of mine said, hey, I want to help celebrate you. Wherever you want to go, let's go together. So I was looking around, but it was my first time really planning travel out the country. I was really nervous. I had my passport, didn't know how to use it. I said, let's just go to the Virgin Islands. So here's some quick things you guys want to know about the U.S. Virgin Islands. These are three beautiful pictures to show you the three islands that consist of the U.S. Virgin Islands. So really quickly, the U.S. Virgin Islands are a territory of the United States. So they're not an official state. We'll get into that later, but they are territories of the U.S. And so that really means that all the freedoms you have in the U.S., you'll have here. You do not need a passport. You can simply fly in and you can fly out. You won't go through customs and all of that. Well, you may go through customs, but it won't be as crazy as another country where you have to get your passport validated upon exiting the plane. So really it depends on which island you like to see. If you have enough time and energy, see all three. The video we're going to recap today is going to be from my 26th birthday, where we really saw St. Thomas and St. John. We didn't get to see St. Croix, but I do have another video coming later where I went back with another girlfriend and we did get to see all three. So stay tuned for that. I'll put that in the bio. So St. Thomas is your primary island that most tourists go to visit. St. Thomas is where all the restaurants are, the nightlife, lots of your resorts, your jet skiing, your sunset cruises, all those types of things you like to do when you travel. You'll find those in St. Thomas. That's the primary place where most people go when they visit the U.S. Virgin Islands. Then there's St. John, and that's only about a 20-minute ferry boat away. Much smaller island. It's the smallest of the three islands, but it's very unique. It's kind of got its own swag, its own feel. The beaches are beautiful, actually rated some of the best in the world. It's a very intimate feeling. And the really cool thing about St. John is they also have a lot of historical places you can visit there, like the Annenberg Plantation. I went horseback riding there. So a lot of unique things. I really like the vibe with St. John. It's kind of in a world of its own. And then you've got St. Croix. St. Croix is the largest of the three islands, but it's also the furthest away. In this vlog, we won't see St. Croix, but we'll see it in the other one I told you about. St. Croix is about a 2 to 3 hour ferry ride away from the other two islands. So you've kind of got St. Thomas and St. John right here, and you've got St. Croix kind of over here doing its own thing. Really unique space. St. Croix is probably the most authentic as far as less tourism. It's more local people living day-to-day life. It's a very different vibe, but I think also a very authentic, fun place, just depending on what you're going and looking for. So for the sake of this video, we're going to focus on St. Thomas and St. John, but stay tuned. We do have a video that highlights all three if you want to check them out. All right, let's tap into traveling into St. Thomas and what that was like.
For sure that I'll always be yours. We could be spending time chasing nights, cruise the one until we.
So we got some fungi. Never tried that, but I'm about to. Cassava. My grandma's Jamaican. I know about that. Mac and cheese. That side. Then we got rotisserie chicken and rice and peas. Wait, pause. I gotta tell you this. As we're getting to know each other, we're new to this channel, right? So we're learning. Your girl loves to eat on all these countries, at all these islands, all these stops, visits, territories, doesn't matter. We're starting with the U.S. Virgin Islands right now. But every video, one thing's for sure, two things for certain. We're gonna eat, and we're gonna eat good.
Baby, you're mine. The time apart. Yeah, every
So
night
excited.
is
Thank
the
you.
time apart.
My Airbnb host, Ivan. He is so nice, and he got me a birthday card. Best host ever. Brief walkthrough. I don't have the video of it, but I wanted to just describe it. So he has his home that he lives there with his wife, and then on the side they kind of have like an additional apartment that they were renting out at the time for Airbnb guests. I don't know if it's still available. The last time I looked online, I don't think he was still on the grid, so it might have just been a seasonal thing. Again, this trip happened about 3 years ago, so everything isn't directly applicable. A lot of the attractions and things we'll go through are, but I'm not sure the B&B is. So just want to give that disclaimer. He was the best, amazing. If it is available, book there, 1,000%, vouch for him. Good decision. View from the apartment. It's absolutely beautiful. God is so good, y'all. So every morning I'm gonna come out here because it's just so pretty. So day two.
It up for sure. Oh, and I'll always be yours. We could be spending time chasing nights. Close the wine until we see the sunrise. In our life, we align. Every night we use the time of our life.
Snorkeling did not go well. So that was my first time ever snorkeling. That's crazy because I'm from Florida. But that was my first time officially snorkeling, like jumping off a boat with the contraption and trying to balance breathing. Water went down my tube. I started choking. It was just a very, very bad experience. But I'm going to go again because I'm determined to learn how to do it. Did see some cool stuff. I just took the whole apparatus off my head and just put my face in the water like old times when you're at the pool or something, and just opened my eyes so you can see cool stuff. You can't do it a lot because your eyes start to burn, but we did see cool stuff. But snorkeling did not go well. Here's how I felt about it.
Like, I don't think you understand. Like, to snorkel, you have to really be like one with water. And while I would like to think that I like water and water likes me back, today I think we broke up.
For sure. Oh, and I'll always be yours. We could be spending time.
I saw it wasn't super available in St. Thomas. One of the companies hadn't bounced back from COVID just yet when I went in 2022. But there was a business on St. John that did offer horseback riding that took you down towards the beach. You could take nice pictures and really get that authentic experience. And I was the only one booked for that day, so it would really be one on one. So that's what I did.
Yeah, we live it up, I know for sure that I'll always be yours. We could be spending time chasing nights. Close the wine until we see the sunrise. In my life, we align. Every night we use the time of our life.
And then after an amazing time on St. John, I caught the afternoon ferry back over to St. Thomas. I met up with my friend. We got changed. We got really cute, and we went out for dinner. And that was like the official like birthday dinner. We went to Prime at Paradise Point, which if you're interested, I think it's a really great suggestion. You get to watch the sunset from this peak restaurant they've kind of built like on the top of this cliff, if you will. The food was really good. The views are even better. Drinks were pouring, and they had the sweetest happy birthday tribute. My only downside, I gotta say it, is they had run out of lobster, and I think it's just based on when we had our reservation because they are caught fresh every day. When they're out, right? Like there's nothing just sitting on ice or in the back, which is a great thing because you want your lobster to be fresh. But everyone was ordering fresh lobster that night, and our reservation was later in the evening. So that's just something to keep in mind if you are a lobster or seafood person like I am, is to get there a little earlier than I did. Get there, just get there.
Never waste.
All right. Thanks, y'all, for sticking in there. Let's just wrap up with a few nice to knows, good things that could help you out if you're traveling to Charlotte, Amalie, or to St. Thomas or any of the three U.S. Virgin Islands. Even though it was super easy to get in and out the airport, depending on when a lot of flights land, you may be stuck in a long line just trying to leave or get out of the airport when you land. So buffer in time between your activities and when you actually get in. I almost got caught up in that. So yeah, don't do that. Over to St. John, it goes multiple times a day and it was very inexpensive. So I highly encourage you to do that just to kind of diversify your trip and have a little bit more fun, catch a different vibe. The big thing people don't always realize is in the U.S. Virgin Islands, there is no Uber, there is no Lyft. You cannot rely on apps on your phone. Your phone will work just the same because it is a U.S. territory, but that's just not how you'll be able to rely on transportation. So they use a traditional taxi system. I'll drop the number below that you can use to access that system, at least the one that I used when I was there. And it still works. It's very effective. They use the walkie-talkie network. People usually come within 15 to 20 minutes of when you call. The thing to keep in mind is if you're going somewhere at a very busy time, like when a lot of tourists are in town or a cruise ship is in dock or just the time of day that a lot of people need taxis. Sometimes it can take 30 minutes or more. So if you know you want to go somewhere, I would just call in advance, maybe buffer 30 minutes. for them to get there so that you can make sure that you're on time and get to where you want to go. Because there isn't an app or anything like that you can track. You'll call, they'll give you amount of time to when they can get to you, and then they'll come around that time. And that's traditionally how it works, and they'll be outside your hotel or B&B. It was really reliable. I thought it was great. I was a little nervous. It totally worked out. I never felt unsafe. I had a great time. I felt like I could have been there by myself. I was actually for the first day, and then when we separated and I went over to St. John, separate from my friend, I never felt uncomfortable. So don't have that in mind. It's a really, really fun experience, and I think everyone should at least go see it or check it out at least once. I will say if you go over to St. John, consider renting a car if you're doing something later into the evening. So, in my experience, I was going horseback riding. My reservation didn't start until 4, and it was about a 3-hour experience. So, the sun was setting by the time I was heading back, and I needed to catch that boat or I'd be like stuck on that island. I was really fortunate that my instructor gave me a ride back in town. So, that worked out. But if I were you, I would really pre-plan your taxis if you're going to go over to St. John because it's smaller. The taxis are a little less predictable and there's fewer of them. So you'll either want to rent a car or really know that you've locked in someone to pick you up and take you around the island. If you go over to them, your money will transfer the same. I mean, again, this is still a part of the U.S., so nothing will be different. It'll be just like going to Chicago or Houston or New York. Your U.S. dollars are fine. Your card should be fine. Maybe call your bank just to give them a heads up that you're going to be traveling, but it shouldn't be an issue as far as like converting money or anything. Pull out cash. Be ready to tip. It's a really great thing to do to tip people. This is how they make their livelihood. So just be prepared to support in that way. But other than that, there shouldn't be any issues with money when you get there. As far as just culture and reading the room, I guess it just depends on who you run into. I mean, it's a heavy touristy um, area. So especially if you're in Charlotte Amalie when you're on St. Thomas. So people aren't going to be surprised that you're there. You're going to fit right in. It's very normal. It's very much traditionally a touristy area. What I would say though is as far as like different views on the island as far as where they stand and how they feel about the territory status. I think there's three different perspectives. So you've got some people who are totally fine with being a territory of the U.S. and that's all good. That's just fine for them. There's another group of people who feel as though they should be a state and that they would like all the benefits. From what I deducted from the tour that we took, the only thing that was really different between the territory experience and being a U.S. state is that they're not allowed to vote in the national elections for president. But other than that, they can do everything that we can do. And then there's another group who feels that they should just be their own independent country, like on their own, and completely secede from the U.S. So depending on who you talk to, I doubt you'll get into politics, but just giving you some cultural awareness of kind of how different people feel about the status of the three islands and how they work together in their relationship with the U.S. So that's something to keep in mind. I'm a history buff, so I find that type of stuff cool. The first successful slave revolt actually happened in St. John. Oftentimes that credit is given to Haiti, and it should. Haiti's a wonderful place as well that has a lot of Black history and tells a great story as far as what enslaved people on the islands overcame. But actually, it happened first. The first successful one happened on St. John of the U.S. Virgin Islands, and it was colonized by the Dutch. So it was formerly a territory of the Netherlands. And they actually were able to successfully overthrow, through a network of trained enslaved Africans who collectively worked together to overthrow the Dutch. And they actually lived free for 2 to 3 years, I believe, before the Dutch went and got reinforcements and came back to take over the island. And this happened before 1804. And so, what was really powerful is as you're swimming, one of the tour guides kind of pointed over when we were at Maho Bay and was explaining how when the Dutch came back with more people and they realized they were outnumbered, instead of returning to slavery, they all, with their children and families and everything, just jumped to their deaths off the side of this cliff, as if almost to say, like, give me liberty or give me death, how we say in the States. It was not worth going back to slavery. And you can imagine if you've lived 2 to 3 years free and you know what freedom tastes like and looks like and feels like, and then someone tries to go put you back in a box, and you're like, I lived it. I've been free. I don't want to know what it's like to not live like this again. And so that was a huge, huge. It was a suicidal act that was done collectively in a way to benefit the progression of the people on the island. And so it really depleted the slave workforce, which made it harder for the Netherlands, the Dutch who were colonizing the island, but all in the name of progress. As we travel, I think it's really important to also take in the cultural aspects of where you're going, to know who you're talking to, the people that are there, and the history that took place before you got there. And then you'll just appreciate it so much more. So these are my recommendations. Up next, check them out. Let me know what you think and hit me up in the comments. I'll reply. I want to know what you guys think about the U.S. Virgin Islands.
Never waste my time.